I'm gonna need my coffee tonight. Welcome to the party, pal. Your friendly neighborhood master chaos here. I hope you are well. Today we're gonna take a look at the very special interview that just aired with Jennette McCurdy. Now you know her, you might know her anyway, from shows like iCarly, Sam and Cat, Zoe 101. She was, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel type person, very happy, very funny. She seemed like, to be on top of the world like most of those child actors do, fame and fortune at an early age. It seems like the dream has come true. But it's never that case for those people. Now, for those of you who don't know, I live in Hollywood. I work in Hollywood. I'm a filmmaker, not at any top level, but I'm in that milieu. And I'm always interested in the seamy side of Hollywood. I don't know why, but I'm just very interested in the dark side of this business because as much as Hollywood is a dream factory, it can also crush dreams, make people very bitter, and ruin lives, as it apparently has done for Jennette. Now, she's just written a book. It's called I'm Glad My Mom Died. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to leave it up to her to discuss that, but I hope you'll join me for this because it's going to be illuminating. Even if you're not really interested in Hollywood gossip, don't look at it as Hollywood gossip. Look at it as a peek behind the curtain of the reality of filmmaking and TV making and what it really takes to be a star.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hello, motherfucker.
I don't want to bum you out, but it's serious stuff that we're dealing with here on a daily basis. The shows we enjoy, we never know all the dark stuff that happens behind the scenes. Now, luckily, I've never had to deal with that in my own life, but a lot of shit happens behind the scenes, and you hear horror stories that never, ever, ever get out. Jennette's story has gotten out, so let's hear it from her and watch along with me as we take a look at this interview.
On the outside, I was doing a lot of the performing, the tap dancing of like the smile and the showing up and landing on my mark. And I'm gonna just do what I need to do and be this, happy-go-lucky Nickelodeon kid.
Yeah.
My name is Samantha Puckett. I'm from Seattle and I love fried chicken.
But inside I was hurting. It was painful. I was angry. I felt unsupported.
You pull back the curtain on child stardom. It is not a pretty picture.
Not as I see it, no.
I mean, it never is. I think, you know what I mean? I don't think there's any childhood stardom story that is a happy one. I think they all, there's maybe a couple that have survived. Elle Fanning, I think, for the most part. Dakota Fanning, I think they've come out okay, but most child actors are messed up, and it's unfortunate. So that's why I don't want to put my kids in anything like that until they are at least in their 20s.
Just 15, Jennette McCurdy was one of the most recognizable child stars on television, playing Sam Puckett in Nickelodeon's hit show iCarly.
Where'd my straw go? Here.
To her millions of fans, she was known as the funny BFF.
What the
But
hell?
she says behind that bubbly on-screen persona, nothing about her real life was funny.
For you, what were the pitfalls of child fame?
You're playing an adult's game. You're in an adult's world, and you don't recognize that.
Yeah.
You're capable of being on that level, but you are confused and you think that you are. And I think it really leads to stunted personal development.
Her personal struggles eventually prompting her to abandon acting altogether.
You say,
I think that's 100% true. Arrested development is a big part of that. Being forced into the position of an adult, of working, of having to deal with contracts and money and, a schedule is tough for a child, and that completely changes your mindset. And I think that leads to addiction and all that shit.
quite frankly, that this was never your dream. Stardom was never your dream. Whose dream was it?
My mom's. I think she wanted me to have a better life than she had, but I also think her approach was very unhealthy and informed by her own lack of self-work. And she lived vicariously through me.
Jennette had her first audition at age 6, encouraged by her late mom, Deborah. Their mother-daughter bond deeply disordered and
Oh, wow.
chaotic. She says her family struggled financially. Over time, like so many other child stars, her acting paid the bills.
It felt like a lot of pressure. And then I think my mom saw my career as a way out of that life, of that way of living, of that constant grind.
How chaotic was that childhood home? You describe it with one line that stuck with me, that the air in the house felt like a held breath.
It was really complicated.
Wow.
My mom also had cancer when I was 2 years old. That was the first time she was diagnosed. So not only was it chaotic because of the abuse that was happening, and my mom's violent and erratic, unstable behavior, but also because we all lived in fear of her cancer coming back.
That volatile relationship is at the center of Jennette's dark and deeply personal memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died.
What made you pick that?
I think I earned that title through the writing of the book, but I wanted it to be something that would grab people's attention and get them to pick up the book and then hopefully learn by the end of it why I have chosen that title.
From the tender age of 11, she says her mother taught her the dangerous habit of calorie restriction, which would turn into years of eating disorders.
Wow.
In many ways, your mother tried to keep you a child.
Yeah, I think my mom wanted to keep me as controllable as possible. I think she really wanted to have her influence on me, and me growing up was a threat to that.
The key to that was calorie restriction.
Absolutely. I think my mom encouraged and conditioned my anorexia because both.
There you go. Anorexia, bulimia. I mean, that's a big part of what happens with young actors when they have to look a certain way. You know, unless you're playing the lovable fat guy, the fat kid. Which, if you've seen any recent or even back then, early 2000s Nickelodeon or Disney Channel show, there weren't really any fat kids. I think Drake and Josh, is that the name of the show? There was a fat kid on that, but I think that was the last time. They're all very thin. They're all very perfect child, and gosh, this is really it's scary. And this shit still goes on. This isn't like a one-off. This shit still goes on, and nobody's doing anything about it to protect these poor kids from the parents who are forcing them to do it. 100%. I'm not saying this is a case across the board, you know, but this is it's an endemic problem that has not gone away.
She thought that it would in some ways help my career, and also because it served her goal of keeping me young and under her influence.
The book reveals dark episodes of her childhood that for years Jennette says she blocked out. She describes how her mother would give her showers and touch her invasively until she was a teenager.
She referred to them as medical exams on your private parts.
Yes. This was the hardest part of the book for me to write about. It was a really emotional experience. I laughed during the writing of it, and then I cried a lot after I wrote that vignette.
You talk about basically having out-of-body associations, out-of-body experiences when this is happening to you.
Yeah.
What do you think was going on?
I've tried to understand, and that didn't lead me anywhere productive. I would just spin my wheels trying to understand my mom's motives.
This continued until you were 17?
Yeah.
And you describe in the book that you felt violated.
Yes. I absolutely felt violated, and eventually accepting that was the most, I think, integral piece to my own healing and recovery.
At the height of her stardom, she landed a spin-off series, Sam and Cat, starring alongside future pop star Ariana Grande.
Who I think plays an idiot on the show. But anyway, what the fuck, man? So the mom has cancer in remission. She's abusive, and she's sexually abusive, like, you know, physically abusive and then sexually abusive. What the fuck, man? That's awful. Gosh, and that is. It makes me mad. You know, it makes me mad that some people can have. Let's keep going.
She writes about tensions on the set.
I'll see what you said. Say it again, one more time.
I said I'm really smart.
You literally wrote, I frequently made the mistake of comparing my career to Ariana's.
Yeah.
And being jealous of everything, jealous of her childhood, jealous of a music career that you didn't even want.
Sure. I was jealous specifically that she played charades with Tom Hanks. That's what got me. Charades with Tom Hanks.
How dare she?
I know.
That's amazing.
But I
Holy
was
shit.
so young at the time, and I think it's really hard to not compare yourself to somebody at that age when you're in an environment around them all the time. So I made that mistake repeatedly, and I'm glad to be at a place now where I wouldn't trade positions with somebody.
As the show was airing, her mother died of cancer. Jennette says her life was spinning out of control, anorexia morphing into bulimia and alcohol abuse.
I was never aiming for bulimia. I was attempting to have anorexia, but I couldn't keep it up without my mom. So then that would lead to, I'd starve myself for so long, and then I'd binge, and then I'd purge because I hated the feeling of fullness, hated it.
It would take Jennette years to seek proper help and start therapy to begin grappling with her trauma.
I couldn't initially accept the idea that my mother was abusive toward me because my whole way of life, my whole way of going through the world was, I was operating through this lens of my mom wants what's best for me. Even after she died, I'm nothing without my mom. I can't do anything without my mom. I'm incapable, I'm incompetent. What would mom want? What would mom think? What does mom need? That accepting that she was abusive would have meant reframing my entire life. And that felt impossible. I couldn't go near that for a long time.
Jennette
You know, a lot of kids, oh, well, not a lot, but most people that go through this kind of trauma will reiterate the information in their minds to help them cope with it. So the fact that she couldn't really put that into the processing pattern of her mind, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Gosh, you know, sometimes I really hate this fucking business. Sometimes I really hate this town. Luckily, they're not all like this. This story is not always like this, but fuck, it feels like it feels like there's more bad news than good news when it comes to this stuff.
says that building a new life without her mom began with a stunning decision to leave acting behind.
Why quit acting?
It was important for my recovery at the time. It represented my mom living vicariously through me. It represented something that my mom wanted that I didn't want. So it was important for me to step away in a very definitive way and really just focus completely on healing myself.
Reflecting back on her career, Jennette's critical of the Hollywood machine and the world she was exposed to at such a young age. In her book, she writes that after Sam and Cat was canceled, Nickelodeon offered her a $300,000 thank you gift if she agreed to never speak publicly about her experience at the network, specifically with a man she refers to as the creator, who on one occasion, she says, encouraged her to drink while she was still underage and gave her a shoulder massage. In response, Nickelodeon telling ABC News, "We have no reportable response other than a no comment at this time."
I just said, no, it's not happening. That sounds like hush money to me. Not doing it, not taking it. And then I do remember leaning against, I think I talk about this in the book, but I lean against my bed and I'm like, well, shoot, that could have put my nieces through college. Like, that was some good money. But I am ultimately proud of my decision there, wherever it came from. Even if it was informed by self-righteousness, I think that, I did something that was really hard to do. Oh my God, it makes me emotional. I'm proud of myself.
She should be proud of herself. I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but I think it's kind of an open secret that Dan Schneider is the creep that she's talking about. He was producer, I think, and he was producer of most of the Nickelodeon stuff, and then maybe head writer at some point. He was a kid actor. He was on Head of the Class, I believe. I've heard nothing but bad things about that dude. So 100%, the creator, obviously, Dan Schneider is the little creeper that, gosh, I'm curious, but I also don't want to know. Fucking Nickelodeon offered her nearly $500,000 to keep quiet about the pervy producer. Fucking fire that idiot. What the fuck? I don't get it. Okay, sorry this happened to you. Let's keep watching.
Why? Why proud of yourself?
I think I've chosen.
Why? What kind of question is that? because she didn't back down. She didn't get.
A path of integrity.
She didn't sell out.
And it hasn't always been easy.
Yeah, she didn't
Now
sell out.
30, Jennette says she's recovered from years of eating disorders and found a sense of balance for the first time in her life.
What's your body image now, and what's your relationship to food like, and how do you sort of go about your day?
I'm glad you asked this because when people talk about eating disorder recovery, they talk about it being such an ongoing process and something you deal with every single day for the rest of your life, and it's always a battle. And I think that kind of language, it doesn't help motivate. I'm at a place now where I don't obsess about food at all. I haven't engaged in any sort of disordered eating behavior for years. I'm really proud of that.
Jennette says healing also comes through in her writing. She's working on a novel and a collection of essays.
Great.
And while she sees herself as a writer, she hasn't completely ruled out a return to acting.
I just wish I could have shown my 20-year-old self me now. I would have known what I was aiming for. I would have had something to hope for, something to be encouraged about. I didn't have that.
What would you have told your 20-year-old self?
Look at me now, baby. You're gonna be fine, kid. I probably would have said.
I love that. I love that. What a great ending. You know what? It's a happy ending at the end of the day, but it's tough. It's tough to grow up with a situation like that. I haven't read the book, so I don't know all the details. But I heard this interview, showing a light on something that has been kept in the dark for a while. The truth is, Hollywood isn't the squeaky clean place, the glitz and glamour place that most of the world thinks it is. It's a very ugly, awful place, and it's the people in it that are looking for the glitz and the glamour that will do anything, sacrifice anything, even their kids' well-beings for it. That is a shame. Jennette, I wish you the best. You're not going to watch this, but I wish you the best. I wish you the best in healing and all that good stuff. I find this fascinating. I 100% do, because it's the stuff that you don't really find out about. It's the stuff that they don't make movies about. Hollywood movies are usually big happy things. They're tragic, but they're not necessarily concerning things like this. Things that have to do with children in the industry. Children in the industry are not treated very well. This is just a fact. And I don't think being a child actor, you really have to have your act together. And even if you do, your team, your parents, all those people have to have your fucking back. And sometimes they don't. And that's a shame. That's a shame, because stuff like this happens. Wow. Well, there you go. I'll say fuck Dan Schneider and leave it there. Thank you so much for watching this Hollywood news reaction. I'll be doing more of these, so I hope you'll join me for those. Leave me a thumbs up on your way out the door. If you're new here, do consider subscribing. It would be an honor and a pleasure to hang out with you again. Talk movies, reviews, news, whatever. I'd love to see you again. But for now, peace out.